Welcome to episode 2 of the Let's Get Critical podcast. My name's Mike, but my mutant name is Mr. Kerosene. And of course, I'm here always with my beloved friend,
Rube Walker. There we are, yeah.
Yes,
We've been wanting to do this for a long time, and finally, today, let's get critical about some music we listen to.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, this is a brand new podcast. Ruben and I are in a band called Frantic Romantic, and a big factor of being in a band is being a music fan. So we're both big music fans, and we also have a lot of music that we listen to that we haven't shared with each other yet, and we figured this would be a great opportunity to do that, and also share it with you all at home,
adoring public over here.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of what made our sound, right? We have different backgrounds, different tastes that we had, and I mean that's what made the melting pot that is Frantic Romantic now.
I agree. Yeah, we each have musical tastes that are frantic, and then some others that are romantic, and sometimes both. Right.
Right.
Just want to give a special thanks to my brother Jason for having us on his podcast network. For anybody who doesn't remember, but you might have, this is not my first Let Me Listen podcast network endeavor. In the past, I did a podcast called Filmtastic Voyage with then Alex Keller, now Alex St. Pierre, but he lives with his wife up in Vancouver now. And just a shout out to them too. Thank you for all the fun memories of reviewing movies. But this isn't movies. This is music. And on episode 2, we wanted to go ahead and go with one of my picks. And this is an album that I felt was not only divisive, but not one of my favorites by this artist. And it is David Bowie's 1983 installment, Let's Dance. So a few fun facts about this album before we jump into it here. Previous to this album, David Bowie had done his Berlin trilogy, and then I would say kind of the spiritual successor to that in 1980, which was Scary Monsters and Super Creeps, which was, in a lot of people's opinion, his last great album. After that, a few things happened. One was his good friend John Lennon was shot and killed in New York City, where they both lived at the time. And Bowie actually had to take some time off to kind of process that. So he became a little bit of a recluse for a bit. But then going into this album, he actually he dropped his record label. He left RCA. And he got signed on to EMI, and the reason he did that was because he felt that RCA was really just kind of milking his back catalog, but not really doing much for his newer endeavors. He was signed to RCA back when he did Hunky Dory, and of course, Bowie's albums all throughout the 70s were big hit albums. And then the Berlin trilogy being a little bit less commercial, but a little bit more experimental and a lot more interesting, in my opinion. Let's see. He was also starting to do more acting. So he did some Broadway acting. He played the Elephant Man for a run of the Elephant Man, and that was in New York City. He was becoming a much bigger name, and with that, he went into Let's Dance, being more of a celebrity, actually, than he was prior. So, new record label. This album actually had a new producer. Bowie legendarily worked with Tony Visconti on a few albums, but for this album, he recruited Nile Rodgers.
Rodgers, yeah.
Yeah, and
it shows all over the music.
It does. Which we'll get into shortly, because Nile Rodgers has a very different taste than Tony did. I also read that Bowie didn't really even tell Tony that he was dumped. Tony found out from an assistant, and it kind of broke his heart for the next 20 years. And this was also where a very unknown Texan guitarist named Stevie Ray Vaughan,
right?
he was recruited, and this kind of jump-started his career. And funny enough, I hear that Stevie Ray Vaughan is actually wasn't a Bowie fan at all.
No. It's kind of like just to get the bag, right? Just for the money. Just for the money.
Yeah, which is I would have loved to have seen those sessions and that tour. So new label, and also new manager. He finally dumped his manager that he had a very weird, tumultuous relationship with for the last 10 years, and a new producer. And what you have is Let's Dance. Now, if you remember from the first episode, we take a deep dive into these albums, but these are quick episodes. They're about 20 minutes long. So, we're going to start with general impressions, and then we're going to go into our top 3 tracks and our bottom 3 tracks. And then I'm going to end the episode with a fun and funny, really harsh negative review of any album that we listen to. And then we're going to decide if we agree with it or not. So with that said, Ruben, I've been talking for the last 5 minutes.
Let's go into it.
What did you think of Let's Dance?
So it's funny because if you talk to most people, most laymen, they're going to talk about this era of Bowie for the most part because of songs like Let's Dance, China Girl, Modern Love. This is kind of, when you look at films, these are the Bowie things that get highlighted the most. Mm. It's a strong departure from what you would know if you were a fan of his entire catalog. I know my wife, when I talk to her about Bowie, she always right away she'll mention either Modern Love or Let's Dance. Those are the 2 main ones that come up. As a kid, I remember these ones too. I think for me, the only thing I didn't dig that Bowie did in the 80s, for me, really, was the Dancing in the Street thing. You know what I mean? It's just... Yeah. And on paper, I figured that would make sense and make dollars and all that stuff, but I just didn't dig it.
Yeah.
With this album, now as an adult, having a little more of a scope of the catalog and kind of the depth of the songwriting, I think it lacks a little bit of that. It lacks some of the bravado, some of that. I don't know, some of that magic that Bowie had early on, that imagination. It didn't have so much of that. But I think that's kind of the point of this album. That's why it's called Let's Dance, right? It's just about having a good time, getting that bag, cashing those checks. I think. I don't know. I know you have more insight on this.
Well, yeah. So, and again, for anybody who probably doesn't know me very well, Bowie became an obsession for me for a good 10 years, right? And I read biographies, and every album that I'd buy, I'd read the story behind it and where he was and what he was doing and why he was doing it and all that. And Bowie in the 70s was a very prolific, involved, really obsessed kind of mad scientist, and he'd go to dark places with his music. He'd go to androgynous places. He'd push boundaries, with how explicit things were, how sexual things were. He had characters. He had a freaky makeup. He had...
It's theatrical. Everything was very theatrical.
Very theatrical.
Even in the recording process, right? It was a performance.
And it was very art-driven music. Right. It was art.
Theater pieces, right, basically.
I really think he was more of a performance artist than he was let's say a
musician.
Singer.
Musician, right?
Yeah. Now with Let's Dance, it's hard to say what motivated him to go this particular direction. And I know this is where a lot of Bowie fans fall off is Let's Dance, because they think that everything up through Scary Monsters and Super Creeps was that. It was art. It was him approaching something with this idea in his head of what he visually wants the music to represent, right? I've heard the argument that Let's Dance was the actual last real motivated
production that he put together.
Right. And it kind of shows Let's Dance, for better or for worse, it is very intentional, but it's also there's traces of him in the music that I think get lost immediately afterwards. Like, the subsequent other albums that he made after that in the 80s, one of them being Tonight, and then the other one being Never Let Me Down. Even to him, admittedly, were just he needed to make music to make money.
It was cash grabs, right?
And that was it. And it wasn't until the 90s where you saw this kind of renaissance of Bowie getting back into like a lot of crazy shit, which was like, if anyone hasn't checked out 90s Bowie, like it's a trip. It's really good.
Yeah.
But with Let's Dance, it just felt like it was a sterile Bowie. It was very like, hey, we've given Bowie a bath.
I feel like it's almost like he had played these characters and now he was just like, hey, I'm just going to be the artist of, the person behind these characters making an album. I'm David Bowie,
Yeah.
Not so much a lot of these other, the White Duke and all these other people that the artist was portraying to convey that art,
Right. And there's good things about that for him as a person and bad things with his art, right? So the Berlin trilogy was this time for him to detox, and it was him and Iggy Pop going over to Berlin, making music and kind of just being away from the drug scene of LA, which was
the excess, all that.
Bowie
right.
was prior, yeah, and he was addicted to cocaine because of that. But so you have him leaving Berlin, coming back to the States, living in New York City, which I think was probably his preference for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And really kind of sobering up, finding God. And kind of just growing up a bit. Like he was in his 30s now. He was evening out. He had gained some much needed wisdom. And I think Let's Dance was a reflection of that, but maybe even just a little bit too much. Like we've gotten so safe with this album that it's just not interesting.
Yeah. Like a little too self-aware, you think, or something like that with what he was doing?
I would say not self-aware enough. Like
Gotcha.
I almost kind of feel like
from the Bowie brand, you mean, right? Right.
He sacrificed his brand, but I don't know if he did it intentionally. But it can't all be bad because it was his biggest album.
It was a commercial success, right?
Yeah. So with that said, getting into the tracks, I guess we'll start with your top three. What would you say, like, if you were to pick three tracks off this album, what would you say they are that you thought were the best?
I mean, the lazy thing would be to say, like, what is it, China Girl, Modern Love, and
Let's Dance.
Let's Dance, right. And I mean, it goes to shows because those are bigger singles. Those are songs that charted a little better.
Right.
I don't know if you agree with that, though.
No. What actually repelled me from listening to Bowie for the longest time was the song China Girl.
Oh, me too. Yeah, in my opinion, I feel like that obviously didn't age well, and even then, I think it was kind of shitty to put that. But it was an Iggy Pop song, right?
Right. So what most people might not know is China Girl was actually originally an Iggy Pop song, and I think it has Iggy Pop sensibilities and
right.
And whether how much you know or how little you know about Iggy Pop, like, and this is going to sound like an insult, but it's really not. Like, Iggy Pop's songwriting is a lot less intellectual, a lot less worldview. And also, I mean, honestly, to his benefit, like, he's been credited as being like
easy to digest, right? Yeah,
easy to digest, but also like the godfather of punk rock, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a raw power and a raw feel to Iggy Pop that Bowie does not have. Bowie is polished. Bowie is
sophisticated, right?
Right. And so when I hear Iggy Pop's version of China Girl, it kind of makes sense. Bowie's version of China Girl, it's beneath him. And And it's like, especially coming into the modern era now, and how we've changed as a culture, it's like it is very like kind of cringy, maybe racist, maybe not. Like,
I mean, I always thought that, you know.
Yeah.
I remember working in a kitchen early on in my career, and one of the chefs, he was Chinese, right? But I don't think that made that any better. He was singing it, and I was just like, you know, like kind of teasingly singing it at us, and I was like, I don't know what to do right now, you know? Like, I'm like, I don't really care for this song.
yeah. But hey, in the comments, I would love for people to tell us what you think of China Girl. Do you think it holds up? Do you think it doesn't? Do you think it's justified? Do you think it's Bowie? Is it one of your favorite Bowie songs? Is it one of your least favorite Bowie songs? It's definitely for sure one of my least favorite Bowie songs of all time. And it's, you know, as Bowie left the 80s and left that era of his career, like he did not play that song after that.
Right.
It was dropped from his set. And, you know, I don't blame him for that.
You know, interestingly enough, having somebody like Stevie Ray Vaughan and, you know, having Niles do the production on this, I want to say I feel like the music, the guitar work, a lot of that stuff got very complex. Like, I tried to go back and learn some of these songs on the guitar, and there were some, like, they don't sound like it, but there's some cool jazz chords going on here.
Yeah.
And the movements and like with the bass and everything. So from that perspective, I kind of do dig this album now. I mean, I'm a big fan of Daft Punk, and the album that Niles did for them, you know, I think you could see a lot of that, a lot of those sensibilities.
Which one did he do?
It was Random Access Memories.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which was like the one that wasn't electronic. It was very practical in its approach, but it still has that, like, it has like a disco vibe to it, you know?
Yeah.
And you hear it in Let's Dance.
Well, with Nile Rodgers, there's a lot of energy and a lot of kind of natural, innate pop sensibility in how he produces. And that's not a bad thing. Like, a lot of people rag on him, especially Bowie fans, but it's like, dude, again, like, his work speaks for itself.
And I'm smirking because I remember when we were putting our record together, we had a bassist do some like slap and pop on like the second verse of Let's Go Critical. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And the producer we were working with was, I don't think so, fucking Niles Rodgers. Like, he cut it out. Then we added it back in.
And then we added it back in.
I just remember that. It like never left me. And I was thinking, what's wrong with Nile Rodgers? I love Nile Rodgers, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's fun. And man, I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if you listen to our song, Let's Go Critical, you'll find some Nile Rodgers sensibility in that song. Yeah. To answer your question about my top three, the title track, Let's Dance, I think that is, for one, it still holds up. And it's a powerhouse track. Like, it will probably always be around.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be the most recognizable Bowie song, always, no matter what. I mean, yeah, there's like Ziggy Stardust and all that, and whatever, Life on Mars and Golden Years and all these other things that are like big hits that
all the young dudes, right?
But something that's very specifically Bowie, like, oh, that's a Bowie song. It's always going to be Let's Dance,
right?
And I love the long version of it where they get into this whole jam. Like, there's merit to that. There's like some actual like musicianship and like more than just a pop song to that particular track.
That section, right, yeah.
Yeah. Second favorite, and this was featured in Inglourious Bastards, is Cat People Putting Out Fire. And I'm not going to say it's like a strong Bowie song, but there needed to be a track on this album where it's like, oh, Bowie's a rock person, like he makes rock music, and like that was probably the single track where it's like, oh, okay, Bowie has some like grit now again, like there's some dirt on the heels, you know. So that one I'd say was like a necessary track for the album, but also kind of like, you know, it again, it was in Inglourious Bastards, and it got a little bit of a resurgence in popularity because of that, and people did end up kind of appreciating that song a bit more. And then the third one is Criminal World. Now that's not a hit, But the reason I picked Criminal World is because it's the only track on the album where there's just a little sliver of what Bowie used to be. There's just a little hint of like, oh, that's the Bowie we know. And, the way he treats his vocals, the way he treats his vocal effects in that song is very like, okay, this is almost like Plastic Soul era Bowie. So yeah, those are my top 3.
So which were your bottom 3?
I think we can
Obviously,
both agree.
Yeah. And it's funny because China Girl was on both on my top and my bottom. Not necessarily that it was one of my favorites, but it's one of the most known. So I kind of was like, I have to put it in the top 3.
Yeah.
But it's definitely on my bottom 3.
So when we get into the bottom 3, I just want to preface, like, this album is only 8 tracks.
Yeah.
And,
different era, right.
And it's interesting because, a lot of the tracks are very middling, or as the kids would say, mid.
Mid, right. Mid.
But they're very middling. They're very forgettable. And so picking a bottom 3, it was a little difficult because everything's kind of sitting on the same tier. But China Girl, for one. The next one would be Without You. There's this song called Without You on the album where it doesn't really move.
It doesn't do anything.
It just kind of floats, and it doesn't have... You're sitting there waiting for something interesting to happen, and it just never happens, and then the song ends. And it was, I'm sure in 1983, it sounded like some fresh new sound, but here in 2023, it sounds like every fucking pop 80s Air Supply.
Well, you got to remember the era was very repetitive, right?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what that was, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I always picture like credits to a movie in the 80s,
Yeah. And then, honestly, there's a song that I hate by Bowie. It's like, it's not just bottom 3 of this album. It's like bottom 3 of any album.
Yeah.
And that is Shake It. I fucking hate Shake It. And the reason why is the song sounds like your grandparents are on a cruise doing like a what do you call it? Like a
conga line or something?
Conga line.
Right. Yeah,
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like my grandparents are on a cruise doing a conga line. and to close the album with that feels like one last middle finger.
Disrespectful. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. That's in my bottom 3 too. I feel, it's like the epitome sonically of like a cheesy used car salesman. Like it's just, it's bad, right? Like it's just like a cliche. It's just so fabricated. I don't know. It encompasses a lot of, what it reminds me of, and I'm gonna rant a little bit, but
go for it.
It reminds me of like that last song on Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Oh yeah,
a song that Rick Rubin told him, "Hey, write a song about like Hollywood and cars and convertibles and blondes and stuff." It's like no effort, right? It just and it shows.
Just to pull back into our own work.
Yeah.
So I had read Scar Tissue, right, and I read that chapter.
Yeah,
and I took this weird, I read that and then it subconsciously bled into Let's Go Critical.
The superficiality of it, right?
I thought, yeah. You know what? Maybe I will write a song about cars and whatever.
It's funny because we were in lockdown, so that was the fantasy that the escapism, right? Maybe at the time, and we were like, and we still kind of are. We were all like obsessed over like Blade Runner and all that. So it's like this Countach world,
So yeah, your bottom 3. So China Girl, Shake It,
and this is gonna be a hot take, but for me, Criminal World, only because it's kind of like which one of these kids is doing their own thing on the album. It didn't feel as cohesive.
Yeah,
obviously because it was kind of Bowie holding on to some of what Bowie was about, right? The essence,
right?
But for me, like if I'm putting an album together, it was like the obvious, like, hey, that's not quite, you
Right.
know? I know I used my vote, but I want to veto that one. You know what I mean? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not a bad song.
That makes sense, though. And,
Right.
and I think it's really cool that we came to the opposite conclusion. You know,
On that one, yeah, specifically, right?
me being more of a legacy Bowie fan and picking that because it's different.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you kind of have it in a part of your bottom three because the same reason, but
Right.
but in a different reason.
Right, right. I mean, because it's just, I always approach it that way. Like when we make an album, we think about
Yeah.
what order we want to put the tracks in, and also the work. You know, when sometimes we cut some really cool songs out,
Right.
Because I'm like, it doesn't really feel,
Doesn't go, yeah.
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 But sometimes you want that, right?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. And for anybody who is curious, there are a handful of songs that we have demo recordings of that we have not put on our albums, and every time we come into a an next recording session, we go, oh, well, what about So Good Night, or what about Career Song, but we always just keep kicking them,
There's like that Bob Dylan song you wrote, the first song you demoed for Celestina.
It's the Bob Dylan song.
You wrote it like a real stream of consciousness.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, I don't like that either. So,
but I mean, it's something like that too,
Yeah.
Sometimes you need those just to get the juices rolling.
I agree. And maybe that's what Criminal World was, just to get the juices rolling.
Right.
So we end our episodes with one last hurrah here.
Yes.
And that is basically, I'm going to get a new setup for the next time we do this here, but, so I pick a particularly harsh, maybe comical review of an album, and then we see if we agree with it or if we disagree with it. So this was written by Walter Goodman, and so Walter Goodman writes 1 out of 5 stars, reviewed in the United States on February 23rd, 2005. In all caps, I hate this album. I have always hated this album and always will. I'm a huge Bowie fan and I hate this album. Not because of the blatant commercialism of it, but because it is terrible. There's honestly not a single track that I can say that is essential for me. The title track and biggest single is a nightmare of inspired one-liners. China Girl and Modern Love I liked when they were released, but have come to detest over time. All other tracks are throwaways. His re-recording of Putting Out Fire is a shameful (parentheses). I love the original from the movie Cat People (parentheses). The only track I even remotely like is Criminal World, and even that is being generous. I even liked Tonight and Never Let Me Down better than this album. At least those albums had Loving the Alien and Time Will Crawl. Is it just me? Question mark, exclamation mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark.
Well, I mean, he's not completely off the mark. He's a little harsh, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. My take with some of this is anytime an artist jumps from a label, I think that's always exciting.
Sure.
Right?
Because you get new ideas.
Right. It's
Yeah.
going to sound different. It just is. They're always going to want to pivot, and not just like with style, but I mean also in production. I think production is going to be a little different. For me, like when the Foo Fighters made the jump, I think from RCA 2 to I don't know what.
What does that say about RCA, I wonder?
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's exciting. So I can't knock it for being of its time, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe Bowie hit a dry spell creatively. I mean, he was doing character after character after thing. This was maybe just a break or something. So I don't want to knock a dude for trying because it's hard. Being an artist is difficult.
Yeah.
He had this be one of the most commercially successful records. So he was doing something right.
Right.
Content-wise, I mean, it wasn't his best.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, it kind of shows how you can have a subpar sounding album, and again, this is just my opinion, but you can have a subpar sounding album, but if you just have the 2 or 3 odd tracks that are really radio friendly, suddenly
Great album.
Great album, right?
It's a success, right?
Um,
Your label's happy with you.
yeah.
Not anymore, but I mean at the time. It's funny. Zeke was talking about that, and he's like, you'd get home, you'd save your money, you'd buy your album, get home, you'd hear the 3 songs you liked, and the rest of it was garbage, and you'd be so disappointed. You know?
It's sad, dude. And I mean, there's a whole treasure trove of those kinds of albums, right?
Yeah,
where it's front loaded, and then the back half of the album is just deplorable, right?
Yeah.
But yes, in less harsh terms, I do agree with what this person's saying. This is definitely bottom tier Bowie for me personally, and less ambitious and less Bowie, but definitely not insignificant. Like it's one of his greats, whether we like it or not. So we would like to hear in the comments what you think of David Bowie, Let's Dance, the album, and also the song. And we'd love to hear from you in general. We're always taking suggestions. We're always taking questions. And again, my mutant name is Mr. Kerosene, joined with my best bud here,
Rube Walker.
And we are the members of Frantic Romantic. And we will see you back here soon
for Let's Get Critical.
Let's Get Critical is a part of the Let Me Listen podcast network. You may find all Let Me Listen podcasts on such websites as Spotify, Deezer, SoundCloud, and other streaming networks. You may find more information about the band Frantic Romantic by visiting franticromanticmusic.com, as well as our social media platforms. We're always posting information about concerts, new music, and more. So please, visit us, reach out to us. Let us know if there's any albums you'd love for us to review. Until next time, this has been Let's Get Critical.